Have you ever met a woman so confident, so untouchable, that you couldn't help but wonder, who does she surrender to? She walks into the room like she owns it. Not a glance wasted, not a smile given freely. She's smart, independent, accomplished. She commands respect without demanding it. And yet, behind the calculated confidence there's something else. Something she hides even from herself. Something soft, vulnerable. And here's the part no one tells you. The stronger the woman appears on the surface, the deeper the need for surrender beneath it. Not to the world, not to the public, but to a man who knows how to see through the armor and exploit it. This isn't about games. It's about truth. Psychological truth. Biological truth. The kind of truth most men ignore because they've been trained to admire strength, but never to understand what it hides. So let's pull back the curtain. Because when you learn to read power the way a strategist reads a battlefield, you stop getting played. You stop being impressed. And you start bending reality to your favor. This is not a guide for the weak. It's a blueprint for men who are ready to stop pedestalizing strength and start mastering it. She will never say it out loud, but every strong woman secretly desires to be conquered. Not crushed. Not abused. Conquered. There's a difference. Crushing is what weak men do when they feel threatened by a powerful woman. But conquering, real conquering, is subtle, erotic, spiritual. It means becoming the one force she can't outthink, can't control, can't escape. Not because you overpower her physically, but because you know the one thing she doesn't want you to know. Her independence is a defense mechanism, a mask, a performance, built not from power, but from fear. You see, no woman is born a boss babe. That is a construct, a shield, often forged from betrayal, abandonment, or a lifetime of never feeling truly protected. So she builds the life she thinks a man should have built for her. She becomes her own rock, her own rescuer, her own hero, and for that she deserves respect, but never worship. Because here's where most men go wrong. They fall in love with the performance. They admire the shield more than the woman behind it. They chase her accomplishments, her independence, her aloofness, and in doing so they lose all power. They try to win her by becoming more agreeable, more emotionally available, more sensitive, more supportive. But the strong woman doesn't desire another therapist. She desires polarity. She desires a man who doesn't try to fit into her life like a puzzle piece, but a man who disrupts her system, stirs her soul, and dismantles her walls. In private, in silence, in ways that feel dangerous because they are. You don't win her by playing safe. You win her by becoming the one man she can't dominate, the one she finds herself bending for without knowing why. Because her hidden weakness is not in her career, her looks, or her independence. It's in her fantasy. The fantasy of finally letting go. Letting go of control, of thinking, of planning, of being the strong one all the time. And here's the secret most men will never access. The stronger the woman is publicly, the more primal her desires are privately. She craves to be dominated, not by force but by presence. A man's presence is his greatest weapon. If you walk into her world trying to prove yourself, you've already lost. But if you enter with detachment, with a cold flame in your eyes, with the calm of someone who doesn't need her approval, you activate something ancient in her. You become the wolf she can't tame, not the puppy she can train. And that's when the game changes. Most high-value women are surrounded by men who treat them like royalty. They offer compliments, gifts, obedience, respect. But very few offer mystery, and none offer challenge. They're all trying to get her to open the door. But the door was never meant to be opened by flattery. It was meant to be kicked in by the only man she couldn't predict. A man who studies her more deeply than she studies herself. Who sees the way she masks her softness with sarcasm. Who catches the flicker in her eyes when her tone sharpens. Who reads her silence not as disinterest but as a test. You see, powerful women test more than average ones, not because they're evil but because they've had to develop masculine energy just to survive. So when you enter her world, she's not looking for love. She's looking for an equal. But here's the twist. She doesn't want a 50-50 man. She wants a man who can make her feel small in the best way possible. Not inferior, but devoured. That's what her soul aches for, and what she'll never admit. Because that kind of surrender feels dangerous to a woman who has spent years building a fortress around her vulnerability. She'll fight you for trying. She'll resist. She'll even mock you. But if you hold frame, if you stay unmoved, you'll feel it. Her armor starts to crack. Not because you broke it, but because you didn't flinch when she used it. Because you didn't retreat when she pushed. Because you made her feel what most men are too afraid to trigger. Submission. Not through force. Through presence. Through strength of will. Through dominance of self. Let me be clear, this isn't about manipulation. It's about polarity. The dynamic tension between masculine and feminine. It's the dance that civilization was built on. And no amount of feminist ideology or modern dating advice can erase it. When a woman builds her identity around power, she becomes emotionally tired. She gets praised for being strong, but deep down she starts to resent it. Not publicly, not consciously, but quietly, because she doesn't want to be strong all the time. She wants to be free. Free to fall apart. Free to cry. Free to be soft. Free to stop leading. Free to feel safe. And she can't do that with a man who is constantly beneath her, praising her, idolizing her, asking her what she wants and how he can make her more comfortable. That doesn't awaken her. It bores her. Because every strong woman secretly fantasizes about not being the strong one for once. She wants to come home and fall into the arms of someone stronger than her ego. Stronger than her career. Stronger than her scripted life. She wants a man who makes her forget her plans. Who reminds her that inside every queen, there is still a woman aching to be taken. And it's your job to see her, not as an equal, not as a superior, but as a riddle. A beautiful riddle waiting to be solved by the man who dares to stop trying to please her, and starts learning how to lead her. But here's what most men don't understand. This kind of woman doesn't surrender to just anyone. In fact, she doesn't surrender at all unless you awaken a side of her she has buried for years. Maybe since childhood. Maybe since her first heartbreak. Maybe since the moment she realized the world wouldn't protect her, so she'd have to protect herself. That's what you're dealing with. Not a woman who thinks she's better than you, but a woman who has had to become a fortress. And fortresses don't fall with affection. They fall with pressure. Strategic. Calm. Relentless. Not in words, but in energy. You don't seduce a fortress by knocking. You do it by becoming the one force it was built to withstand, but can no longer ignore. Now let's talk tactically. How do you become that man? How do you tap into the soft underbelly of a strong woman's mind without her ever realizing you've bypassed the gate? You start with a frame. Never chase. Chasing signals lower value, and she's repelled by it. Not because she's cruel, but because it collapses the polarity. If she feels she can lead the interaction, she becomes masculine. She becomes the man. And the moment that happens, the attraction dies. Hold your frame. Let her come to you, emotionally, energetically. You can initiate, yes. You can engage. But your value never flinches. Never tips its hat. She needs to wonder about you. That's step one. Step two, control the tempo. The strong woman is used to control. She plans. She manages. She predicts. So the moment you become predictable, you become disposable. Make her wait. Make her think. Make her uncertain. This uncertainty isn't cruelty, it's mystique. It's the one thing she's addicted to but can't create on her own. Make her feel that you are busy, not pretending to be but actually committed to a mission larger than her. You don't orbit her world. She orbits yours. That's the reversal of power. Now, step 3, emotional mastery. Never show neediness. Never over-explain. Never get rattled when she tests you, and she will test you. She'll withdraw affection. She'll question your intentions. She'll play cold. Not because she doesn't want you, but because she needs to feel that you are emotionally unshakable. Her subconscious is asking, can I lean on him? Can he lead when I fall apart? Can I stop being strong around him? And if you pass that test without trying to pass it, you unlock something rare. Her submission, her trust, her hunger. Because at that point, you've shown her that you're not like the others. You don't worship her mask. You don't bend to her moods. You see through her, into the part of her that still dreams of being taken by a man who won't ask for permission. Here's the twist no one sees coming. The woman who appears the strongest is often the most alone. Everyone assumes she's fulfilled. Everyone assumes she's confident. Everyone assumes she's above you. But inside she's often aching. Aching to stop pretending. Aching to be seen. Aching to collapse, in private, with a man who won't use her pain against her, but also won't let her use her strength to dominate him. And that's where you come in. Not as her savior. Not as her fan. As her mirror. A reflection of the power she's been forced to adopt, but in its masculine form. Where she's sharp, you are calm. Where she leads, you observe. Where she challenges, you remain still. Because nothing disturbs a storm more than silence. Now let's talk about what happens when you succeed. When the strong woman finally lets go, It's unlike anything you've ever felt. It's not just affection. It's not just passion. It's devotion. When a powerful woman gives herself to you fully, it's not halfway. She's not built for mediocrity. She doesn't know how to half-love. So when she finally trusts you with her chaos, her tears, her truth, you don't just get a partner. You get a weapon, a co-creator, a queen who serves because she wants to, not because you demanded it. But you'll never get there if you fall for the facade, if you let her strength scare you, if you try to be her equal instead of her anchor. Your job is not to match her independence. Your job is to embody sovereignty, to make her feel in every interaction that she's no longer the strongest force in the room, and she doesn't need to be. You become the stillness to her storm, the command to her chaos, the container to her fire. And that is when she melts. That is when the strong woman becomes the real woman. Not because you changed her, but because you reminded her that she never needed to wear the armor when she's with you. And she will crave that version of herself more than she ever craved power. Let's be clear. None of this is about manipulation. This is about truth. The truth that the feminine, no matter how hardened by life, still longs to surrender to strength. Not to ego, not to control, to depth, to vision, to presence. And if you become that man, you'll stop chasing strong women. You'll start attracting them. You'll start unlocking them. And more importantly, you'll stop being intimidated by them. Because now you see clearly, her strength is not the threat. Her strength is the invitation. To rise, to lead, to become the one man she cannot master, but cannot live without. You were never meant to be her assistant, her therapist, her cheerleader. You were meant to be her dominion, her storm, her war, her peace. So don't try to fix her. Don't try to outtalk her. Don't try to win her over. Just look her in the eyes and don't blink. Speak less. Feel more. Move with purpose. And never explain your silence. Because her soul is waiting for one thing only. A man who doesn't need her, but chooses her. A man who doesn't flinch when she roars. Who smiles when she fights. And who reminds her, not through words but through presence, that she's finally safe to stop pretending. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. Have you ever met a strong woman who secretly longed to be led? Have you ever failed or succeeded in breaking through her mask? Let's hear your stories, your battles, your insight. If this video hit home, if it sparked something primal, subscribe to Mind and Empire. We dive deep. We speak raw truth. We expose the lies that keep men weak and replace them with the wisdom to rise. Like, share, comment, and remember, her armor is not your enemy. It's your map. But only if you have the strength to read it and the power to lead her home.